Man, they are hyping this up. In my opinion, it's a little too hype right off the bat. Most horror intros start lower energy and then quickly build to a higher energy. Outlast, for example, has an intro that involves you driving up to the asylum, breaking in, tension starts to build, and the intro climaxes with you getting picked up and thrown by a giant walking baked potato. This game, on the other hand, seems more like it's saying, yep, Indigo Park Part 1 is finally here, aren't you excited to play it? I know that may feel nitpicky for such a short segment, but the opening moments of a horror game are crucial. It's why the intro screen to Amnesia: The Dark Descent does a far better job of building tension than the bombastic intro screen to Machine for Pigs. Honestly, what this intro reminds me a lot of is the intro for FNAF Security Breach.
Hey, is that foreshadowing?
Even worse, this intro is the only part where we learn our character's motives, and it's really not on screen for very long. But hey, at least we have motives. I'm liking the atmosphere so far. That is the... Okay, random tangent, but automatic doors going up is the most inconvenient way I feel to make an actual, like, moving door in real life. Also, it's thin as hell. Like, going into the sides is way easier because you're not fighting gravity.
Hi there, and welcome to Indigo Park! The world's most innovative and engaging family fun experience! Jump into the world of your favorite character. Wait, you're our first guest in 2,920 days, 4 hours, 23 minutes, and 38 seconds. Congratulations!
Yay.
I'm Rambly the Raccoon, and it's my job to make sure your experience here at Indigo
That come out
Park
of
is
that
the
pipe?
most fun it can be. Just hop on over to the registration center to your left, where our friendly assistant will help you begin your adventure in the park.
And ladies and gentlemen, 90% of the reason this game is so popular. Well, probably 95 to be honest. Like, you know, it's...
Hi, I'm Rambly the Raccoon, and it's my job to make sure your experience here at Indigo Park is registered. Let me just get a good look at you. Don't seem to have your face in our guest list. No worries, it's Rambly Tuesday, so you qualify for a big discount on your visit. Just follow me to the main gate. Ooh, I can't wait for you to see everything Indigo Park has to offer.
Look, there's good reason that he's 90% of the reason this game is so popular. He's well done. I like him. You know, I like his design. His voice actor does a great job. He actually looks like a theme park mascot. The animations are cute, you know, and he's funny, you know? And I do mean that. Rambly is a very well done character, and he's always fun when on screen. Whether or not he adds to the game or actually detracts from it, well, let's save that judgment for the end of the video.
You get to be the first person to try our Turn on the Generator mini Rambly venture. Have fun!
See, even that little animation there of him doing that little, like, dance thing was cute. You know, he's well made. I like him. Why are the textures so blurry? Do I have this on max? What am I doing again? Right, generator. Oh hey.
The Indigo Violet Compact Power Generator. But it seems to be inoperable. Looks like it's missing a piece. Can you find it?
Well, there, obviously. Was that a collectible? Yes! Oh, yes! I'm gonna win! There it is. Was that there before? I don't know. For those of you who don't know, I am a collectible fiend. I think I've gone over that in my videos before. Chunk. So I'll keep an eye out for collectibles. If I miss some, I don't care.
Okay, for real this time. Welcome to Indigo Park.
Look at all this foliage. Ooh, that trash can is buried for some reason.
Silly Rambly. Every guest needs a critter cuff. That will allow you access to reserved areas, charge payments to your room, and wear a critter cuff.
My room?
I think there's some in the gift shop. Head in there and I'll get you set up.
Okay. So this place used to have, like, resorts then, if you can charge stuff to your room. That's a nice feature. I'm pretty sure Disney does something like that already. Ooh, collectibles. No. No.
There you go, buddy.
So.
Your very own critter cuff. A new way to interact with the park that also doubles as a pedometer, heart monitor, and mood ring. Data disclosure agreement included.
Sleek. So I get the idea that he's safe.
Uh-oh, the door mysteriously locked. Why not test out your band and save the day?
Okay. Was it? There we go.
Hooray! Great work, buddy!
Anything to say, Rambly? Bonk. He sure does talk a lot. More rubble. I do want to say, I do have to hand it to the mappers. So far, this looks good. Like, I'm impressed with how everything does look destroyed and ruined. Making things look ruined and destroyed is a lot harder than making it look clean and tidy. You know, it's just a lot harder. And whoop. Loading screen. Strange spot for it. Can I go? I cannot! Also, that was a very quiet rumble. I would have used a bigger sound effect there, but... Okay. But yeah, I'm an urban explorer. That's cool. I like that. I like that we're given context as to why I'm here in this spooky place. Security breach! To elaborate, it's becoming kind of a trend for mascot horror games to not give any context as to why a character is at whatever spooky place the game is set in. Security Breach is a horrible example of this. Why was Gregory hiding away in Freddy if he just wants to leave the Pizzaplex? Why doesn't he just chill in Freddy's room until 6 a.m.? Why does he only bring up wanting to stop some previously never mentioned kidnappings until the very end of the game? And why do I want Roxanne Wolf to step on me? Questions are good in a horror game, but this only goes so far. We need some kind of context to why our character is making the decision to delve even further into these dangerous situations. Sure, we as the player are progressing because we want to see more, but why in the world does Gregory suddenly decide that killing and stealing parts from the monsters trying to kill him is the better solution instead of, oh, I don't know, just waiting for 6 a.m. to come? Thankfully, Indigo Park does give us the motivation that our character is, for one, an urban explorer, and two, has fond memories of the park. He also isn't aware that there's any real danger present, further making sense of his motivation. Even these 2 lines of text are really all that's needed to keep the plot from feeling completely derailed. And speaking of trains...
Pardon our dust, buddy. Looks like the park is going through some... renovations.
Oh.
For the inconvenience, your Rambly Tuesday discount will be 3% off. Why not celebrate this great deal with a ride on my railroad? To test your sleuthing skills, I'll let you find this one all by yourself.
Cool. I love trains. Legit, I love trains. Also, his animation had smearing, which very light smearing, but it did, like, good on the animators. Again, he's well animated. Smelly scheme. Oh dear. Yes, trains. I love trains. I love trains. Is he gonna pop up? Is he gonna pop up? Is he gonna pop up?
Official data suggests you may be a bit older than the target audience for this
Never.
ride, but it's one of my favorites. Do you know why Rambly the raccoon loves Rambling's Railroad? Because I like trains.
Based. No, I love trains. Like, even when I go to Six Flags, I'm running all the cool coasters there and stuff. I like the train. Yeah, it's a flat ride, but I like trains. You know, Dollywood has an actual steam, like one of the few remaining steam trains. I got to ride that. Why am I talking about I'm getting distracted. Let's get on the train. So I can stop talking about trains. The following section is a completely on-rails section that really just serves to introduce us to all the honestly well-designed characters. Well-designed for an actual theme park, at least. And despite my professed love of trains, there's a pretty glaring issue with this entire segment. How long am I gonna be in this train? Like, I like trains and all, but this is a horror game, and by definition, this won't be scary, because, you know, it's linear. Like, there's a train crash, it's like, oh no, the train's crashing. Yeah. I'll go back to my previous example of the Monster Mansion at Six Flags, and oh, I was just there. I could have got my own footage. My friend even took out his cell phone just to check to see if a standard phone camera would work. God damn it, why did I not think about that at the time? But yeah, because this entire section is on rails, if the train starts suddenly speeding out of control or some monster starts chasing the train, that's something that's on script. It's supposed to happen. There won't be anything to react to, no mistakes we can make, no actual threats to be scared of. Though I guess to the game's credit, it doesn't really try to pull anything like that. So, maybe it's not actually an issue? In that case, the question is, what is this whole segment for? Well, it's a bird.
It's Molly
I
McCall.
like her design.
Molly McCall!
Oh, Finley, come on out and greet the people.
I am the proud, the prestigious, the professional Lloydford L. Lion.
I guess this is sort of like, let's introduce the cast moment, but, I mean, it's taking a bit. No. And while I do maintain that the train ride could be paced a little better, I do find it kind of ironic that the moment I started complaining about it, the game booted me out of the train as if to say, "Oh, getting bored, are you? Alright then, smartass, how about we pause this entire sequence to deliver the most pointless puzzle of all time?" Oh, I can see the outside from here. Cool. Ooh. Ah. Oh, we're out, okay. Oh. Hello there. I like your design. I like all the designs, you know? I have to say, I like all their designs. Yeah, this is kind of giving me a security breach kind of vibe, especially this part. Wow, this looks like the backstage. It's a lazy jump scare. Yeah, this definitely feels like security breach, with these things being possibly sapient and just the overall vibe of the place. Oh, okay. This is what we're doing then. This is kind of a small hallway. I missed anything in here? Oh, there it is. Okay. Is there gonna be like a scare here? What's the point of this section? I mean, that already, you know, fake jump scared me. I mean, better than, you know, Chad the Chipmunk, I guess, as far as how scary it was. Huh. Like, is that really it? Did I miss something? The answer to that is maybe. Looking back, the only character to not have an intro in this train segment is Salem the Skunk, and since we can see Salem's poster here, there are some lore implications we can make. We can, but I'm not going to. Or, hell, you know what? Let me just take a wild guess. One of the mascots, for whatever reason, got pissed off and tore it down, or maybe even Salem herself did it. There, put me on the next Game Theory. Next time on Game Theory, is Rambly the Raccoon actually Purple Guy? But aside from the lore implications, yeah, what was the point of that spot? We just got off the train, endured a lazy jump scare, completed the easiest puzzle ever, and then just continued on like nothing had happened. But why bother? There wasn't any tension built or teases at horror. It was just a walk up and down a hallway with some mildly spooky ambience. Oh god, it was just walking down a hallway with some mildly spooky ambience. You call that rolling your R's?
Extraordinaire!
I can do it better. Great act like.
Of course it was! I'm the real star!
I can roll my R's better than him. It's the real show! You know, see? Take it. Oh, we're done. Alright. Ooh, on-ride footage.
So, what do you think? Pretty fun, right?
Yeah.
Now you know all about my friends and Lloyd. So, where do you want to go?
I mean, as far as a train ride that... Oh, I see that. There, I'm being chased by a bird. It's not very scary. Why isn't that scary? Like, if that was, like, the original FNAF and that was, like, Freddy chasing me, that'd be... I think he'd just be standing there, like an actual animatronic would be. He's, like, that's, like, chasing... I don't know. Maybe I just don't find birds scary. Bears are scary. Like, Cheek is scary. That's because she's, like, a weird, like, she looks freaky. Whoa. Oh, this is a cool shot. I could do with a bit more color, though. The pure white lights are a choice. Not the one I would have gone with, honestly. I would have used a bit more of a... Let's see. I would use a bit more off-white yellow. Maybe with a tinge of green in there. Just a tiny bit. Like, not enough to be noticeable. Full moon. The moon is... It's oddly static and JPEG-y. It looks kind of like an egg. That is not a great moon. What am I doing? I don't know. Is that a... Oh, you're real. Can I pet you? Can I pet you? Please, please, please! Yes! Oh, I can pet the cat. Awesome. Is that like a developer's cat or something? I bet that's like a dev's cat or something. Ooh, pastries. Ooh, pastries. Another collectible. What do I do with these? Ooh. Coffee decaf. Wow, these prices are... Chocolate muffin for $3.50? Why is the pretzel more than that? Better be a big frickin' pretzel. Wait, a caramel apple is 9... Do you want me to pet you again? I will. Don't try me. So you didn't think I'd do it, did you? Yeah. Been a minute since we've seen Rambly. Not a bad thing. I guess they're letting the ambience set in. I don't think this part looks particularly scary, because has a lot of the same issues that the park does, where it's open enough for me to see threats coming, and it has places for me to take shelter, so, you know, I'm not terribly threatened right now. Is that collectible? It is! Sweet. It's like a journal or a menu. Why is J jump? That's so random. Why is J and spacebar jump? Who uses J to jump? That's the scariest thing about this game. Es Rambly. Hola, yo soy Rambly. Tu amiguito y guía más agradable. I can never get that word right. That clock is going... Why is it doing that? And the motor in that would be nuts. Like a... I mean, you know what? This isn't like a theme park. I bet there are events where that actually happens.
Wow, look at that! You're at Jetstream Junction! Oops! Looks like Jetstream Junction's being tuned up. Last I checked, there's a security office in the back of the theater. Maybe a friendly wrangler can help you get in!
Whew. Orange level. I love orange flavors. Yo soy Rambly. Te ayudará a explorar el parque. Pero primero necesitaré un critter cuff. That's not really good. Pero primero necesitaré un critter cuff. So yeah, like, hire me, Rambly devs, to do this Spanish dub. No, it's not a problem that I'm not actually a native Spanish speaker. Let me do Lloyd, you know, let me do Lloyd. Hola, Rambly. ¿Y a quién tenemos aquí? ¿Exploradores más valientes? Rambly. Why am I making him sexy? Like, Rambly, te quiero. Okay, I'm getting off that. The internet does not need more fuel for that. For sexy Spanish Lloyd. Or Yoid, as it would be. Ignoring my random tangent about Spanish Lloyd, no idea what that was about, we see actual Lloyd in the fuzzy flesh, in our first actual horror section. Though this didn't stop my ass from getting distracted. Piano. But yeah, our first potential threat. I was legitimately excited to let this game finally show me what it was made of. Though not after getting distracted again. Why are there 3 ladders here? And I'm looking too much into that. Wranglers only. I thought Wrangler had a W at the start of it. Was that just like the car? Ooh. Are you actually like... Sup? I know you're still behind there. Like... your footsteps are very loud. And you only took 2 of them. Ooh. Oh, nope. Okay. Oh shit. Idiot. Okay, bye. I guess you're just... I feel like you could jump over these crates, but... Or over this, like what's... Okay. Also, that jump scare was like, the sound effects were strangely muted. Like the bird one had more of a... The fake bird one had a more of an impact than that. Oh. Is this... Oh, is that it? Oh, that's lame. Come on. You have a whole spooky backstage with a giant lion stalking you. Is that really all you're gonna do? Okay. There's the exit. I'm absolutely certain that he's not gonna pop out and... Lloyd? Are you missing your cue? Okay. Whoop. Oh, hi. Hooktail. He's afraid of crickets. Just like Hooktail. Come on. Flashlight. There we go. Wait, is that it? There's no way that's it. Come on. Oh. What? Oh, I get... Really? That's it? Well, that's freaking lame. Really? Like... That can't be it. Okay. Yeah, the ambience is leaving. Unless it's for another fake out. Don't know. There's no way that's it, right? Like... Come on. Come on. That was a decent setup. Not great, but, you know... Showed me the monster beforehand. I'll have to think about whether or not this was a good chance of horror of the mundane. I guess, you know, future me will take that analysis, but... Oh, I want it, really? As Past Me was saying, there are some things to digest about this section here. For one, this is another section that's entirely scripted, and much like the train ride or the Monster Mansion ride that I am still angry I didn't get my own footage of, everything that happens here is basically on rails. In this whole backstage part, there aren't any branching paths or switchbacks that will make an actual encounter worthwhile. It's just two scripted moments of Lloyd jump scaring. No, not even really jump scaring. He just kind of politely asks for your attention and then just gets driven off by how tacky my Fitbit is. Not exactly a threatening display, Lloyd. Second, the game shows us Lloyd sleeping on stage before we actually encounter him, and unlike FNAF 1, this is not an example of horror of the mundane. To briefly explain, horror of the mundane is taking something every day and making it scary. And unless I am wildly out of date on my theme park technology, a giant plush lion with actual claws and teeth is not something everyday ordinary. Instead, this section feels more like it's an advertisement saying, oh boy, get excited, it's time for Lloyd. Just like with the intro cutscene, it almost feels like this game is sacrificing horror to build up hype. Really? Like, can you have like the bird like chase me around here a little bit? Like, this would be a decent spot to be chased by the bird, you know? There's some places I could hide or try to loop back around it. Is that? Oh, well, that's super disappointing. I want my pants to be scared off, you know? Or at least have a little bit of wee come out or something. That was just kind of boring. Oh, is this the? Oh, this is the thing I think. Woo! Is there nothing else? This is a massive part of the map to do basically nothing with. Feels like a waste, honestly. Like, there's stuff you could do here. Like, this is Main Street. Like, come on. Key. Ah.
Say, why don't you check out Molly's Rooftop Races? It's not far from here, and it's a great warm-up before we get into the bigger rides. Just take an up at Molly's landing pad.
Okay. Bird up. It's the code, bird. No matter how you say it, you know that you'll be heard. YouTube, don't demonetize me. That's a big statue. This is such a huge space. Yeah, I like her design. It's not scary, though, I think is the issue. Yeah, like, I don't find, like, I guess the Lloyd I found scary, because, you know, he's a giant lion, and lions are naturally scary. Because they were, ooh, is this a thing? Oh, the face is weird. Okay. Like, lions are naturally scary, because they're lions. I don't want to fight a lion. I'd fight a macaw. I think I have pretty good odds, you know, 70-30, 60-40 maybe. But I could fight a macaw. So yeah, I don't find her, like, scary. I don't find birds, like birds of prey maybe, but am I in the wrong, can I get over, or?
Oh no, this is horrible. Looks like Molly crashed into the ride again. Don't worry though, your pal Rambley has the repairman on speed dial.
We're sorry. The number you have dialed has been disconnected or is no longer in service. Please check the number and dial again.
Say, why don't you check out Molly's landing pad? It's not far from here, and it's a great cool down after that exhilarating ride. Just take a down from Molly's Rooftop Races.
How many functions does he have if he can make outgoing calls? Also, they're really proud of that, like, clock in the distance. Like, it's in every shot. It's kind of distracting, honestly. Is this a thing? It's a thing. How short am I? How tall is this cabinet? Oh, loading screen. Are we gonna have a minigame? Oh. Yes, our horror game is interrupted for an honestly pretty satisfying platformer. Like, sure, it's simple, but Rambley has good momentum, there are a few fun jumps, the enemies feel good to bounce on. It's pretty fun. But then I'm reminded that this is a horror game and we're playing a random arcade minigame. And I can't help but feel like it was most likely shoved in just to drip feed us snippets of lore. Now where have I heard of something like that before? I just can't put my finger on it. Overall, this whole experience was just kind of distracting and felt out of place. Legitimately fun, sure, and I wouldn't mind playing more of this. Like, even just a little $5 one-shot game, I'd buy it. Really, he feels that good to control, and it's honestly the most fun I have with this game. I feel like Walter White in that one coffee scene. My god, that is one of the best controlled 2D platformers I've ever played. Why the hell are we making horror? I did it. Oh no. Okay, that was a thing. Wait, what the? Was that all? What the? Oh, okay, that's strange. I collected a VR berry. Or AR, I guess. This is just... Security breach, that's from Ruin. Is that really... This feels like it's wasting its locations. Like, all we did there was play a video game and see another wrecked ride. And that's honestly a running issue with this game. So much of it just feels empty, and not in the unsettling, desolate kind of way like in Ghostwire Tokyo or Subnautica, but more in that way that makes you ask, why was this even here? Sure, not every location in the game needs to have some purpose, but when there are major chunks of the game that you just walk through, it feels like a waste. Nothing happens in Main Street. Nothing happens in the broken part of the train ride, and nothing happens in Jetstream Sam's Junction. It just ends up feeling like a waste. And speaking of wasted spaces, we have ourselves it's a mascot horror game, so we have to include a play place level. This part is so linear and so blandly constructed that I can confidently say that this is actually worse than the play place section in FNAF Security Breach. As long as Moon is actually working, which, let's be honest, the odds of that are about as likely as Yeek getting a sequel. What the fuck? But I like this. I like the colors. This is a massive play place. If I'm able to stand, like, I don't know if I'm an adult, but can I go to the side? Can I go to the side? Come on. Kind of. Why do mascot horror games always have giant, like, indoor play places? Like, these aren't scary. Like, at all. I'm not scared. These are places that are made to be safe. You know, they're all padded walls and stuff. Well, this seems obvious. Oh no, it's getting dark. It's getting slightly darker. Like, play places aren't scary. Like, I don't find them scary. I don't really know anyone who finds play places scary, except for maybe German. Okay, bye. See, that's not scary either. Like, it's just a bird walking, and birds objectively look funny when they walk. Like, that is a law. I don't want to follow her. Oop. Because it loops around. See, that was a little scarier. You know, it was a little scarier, a little bit. Not much. Why are her eyes... Do birds' eyes glow like a cat's eyes do? Oh, yellow circle. Oh, I hope I haven't missed anything. I will find out. Yellow or orange circle. Like an orange. Like the fruit, okay? Everyone remember for me. Everyone type in the comments the things I need to remember to solve this puzzle. Orange circle. Don't do that. Okay, see, this would be a great opportunity for her to start, like, stalking me, because I'm going around, I'm looking for clues. So right now, if she started actually stalking me, that'd be perfect. Like, this is a perfect opportunity. I'm pretty sure that's not gonna happen, though. I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna get what I need, and it'll be just whoa, jeez. Okay, this is suddenly turned into a platformer, I guess. Ooh. Okay, sure. Why not? This place is massive. And, like, massive, like, it's tall. Like, even when jumping, I don't even come close. Like, I don't know how old I am, but... Oh, well, I was driving a car. So I'm at least 16. And, like, what kind of, like, nuts... Ow. Like, Okay, this is breaking. Okay, blue star, blue star, blue star, blue star. How can I remember that? It's the opposite of the red stars, the Dragon Balls from Dragon Ball. I missed a scare cue. Dang it. She's not gonna, like, stalk me, is she? That's lame. This is the perfect moment for it, too. Like, come on. So I guess we still need whatever the red is. Can I just cheat it? I can probably just cheese this, because I have... That was purple star, blue star, green triangle. So I can just cheese this now. It's not really cheesing, really. Oh, red star, okay. Aha! Really? This would have been perfect! This would have been perfect for her to stalk me! Come on! But, like, this is kind of breaking my suspension of disbelief for a little bit, because this is just huge. Like, you know, the place in a security breach was believable. You know, it was normal size. Also, there is not much tension building here. I've seen her a couple of times, but, like, I feel like they could have done a lot more with, like, sound effects or, like, something. This has just been kind of boring. You're boring me. Come on, game, don't bore me. Ooh, Molly McCaw again.
Art.
I like her design, like those plushes. Oh. I feel like it's a dude in a suit. Oh, we're going. What? What the fuck happened? What? Why did I die? Did she, can I just, like, not take, what the fuck? That was weird. That is not even close to what she looks like in-game. Like, that would be scary. Can repeat word that she's heard. Don't be... Wait, has she been doing that? So before we get to this kind of buggy chase sequence, I want to clarify a few of my thoughts on the whole play section in general. When I say that the scale of the play place is breaking my suspension of disbelief, I just know that there are going to be some people in the comments who say, "Oh, but cheese, this has sapient AI raccoons that can talk and interact with you, and yet this is what you find ridiculous?" And my answer to that is yes. The suspension of disbelief is what allows us to believe in things like living puppets, a hedgehog that can break the speed of sound, and Bruce Wayne being a good billionaire. But this only goes so far. We still call out bad writing or ridiculous set pieces when they don't make sense, like that stupid knife scene from the Star Wars sequels, or the Lightspeed Ram from the Star Wars sequels, or the Star Wars sequels from the Star Wars sequels. This part just seems strangely out of proportion with the rest of the park, which, aside from the sapient mascots, has been pretty grounded. If the rest of the park was crazy huge in scale and scope, that'd be fine. But thus far, all of the rides and attractions have been pretty unimpressive, so this massive, death-defying play place just comes out of left field. But the worst part of this section is that it's just not scary. It would be one thing if the game cut out the lights and started playing sounds to make us think that Molly was stalking us, but no, it's pretty much perfectly lit the whole time. And Molly is just hanging out and being as obvious as possible and isn't even really a threat yet. Then, of course, when she does become an actual threat... Why did I die last time? That's so weird. Left. So I'm left-handed. That's always the correct idea. I think I can hear her chasing me. Oh yeah, no. Like, okay, you mimicking stuff now isn't gonna help since I know you're chasing me. That's a weird tooltip. Whoa! Left again. I can't understand. I should have turned on subtitles. Oh well, whatever. Oh crap. Oh, I'm so dead. Nope, I lived. This is a linear chase sequence. I don't like these. These are just... I mean, like, if it was to introduce the animatronic, or the monster, whatever, sure, or like the climax, but like, if it's only this, that is exceedingly disappointing. Like, future me, take over why I don't like linear chase sequences again. Okay, thanks. Sure thing, past me. I want to say that I'm not against the idea of linear chase sequences. They can work in specific circumstances. For one, if you want to introduce the monster via a quick chase sequence, that can work. FNAF Security Breach is a great example of this, and for once, it's because it actually did something right. Mostly. The start has a linear chase sequence introducing all the animatronics, but the difference is you're immediately corralled into a situation where you have to actually hide and avoid them in a real they're hunting you situation. The opposite scenario can also be true. After a long segment where the player is sneaking around and avoiding a monster, a quick linear chase sequence can work as a proper climax. Soma does this wonderfully, and if you're wondering why I'm not showing footage of that right now, it's because that sequence is like several hours into the game, and these are supposed to be simpler videos, so maybe when I make a video on Soma, I'll make a mention of it. However, there's nothing interactive or dynamic about a linear chase. No hunt, no build-up, no anticipation. The focus isn't on avoiding and outsmarting the monster or the monster actually hunting and seeking you. You never get those moments of, oh god, is the monster coming this way? Does it know I'm here? Should I run? Should I keep hiding? You're just thrust directly into the chase. No questions, no uncertainty, no build-up, just you holding down the run button as you're essentially stuck on rails with no real choices of your own outside of choose the correct path or die. That's not horror, that's a platforming level. And unless your horror platformer has interesting mechanics, which I can only think of one example of, it's not going to be all that interesting. That's why I have such a distaste for linear chase sequences. It's all bang with no substance. To quote Alfred Hitchcock, since I'm a pretentious bitch, there is no terror in the bang, only in the anticipation of it. I can hear her. I'm sorry if I'm not like getting into like, oh no, she's behind me, because yeah, it's just when you're chasing.
There you are, buddy.
Hello.
Wait, hold on. This one's staff only. Come on in, you staff.
Oh no, I can't imagine what's gonna happen here. Gross. I'm gonna have to blur that? Probably not.
Welcome to the Rambley's Wranglers registered room. Here we have plenty of amenities and... Okay. I can see in your facial tracking that you're scared, angry, upset. Transparency.
I mean, I was
is an
upset. I wasn't
important
really
part of our
scared.
policy here at Indigo Park, so I need to be honest about something. The park has been inactive for years. Employees stopped showing up, guests too. The mascots are... I just was so excited to see a visitor, and I wanted to be sure you were given the best experience possible.
Oh.
But I was confined to the entrance for so long, I didn't realize just how much disrepair the park has fallen into. Wasting all of your fun time. Sorry for the inconvenience. But, I have an idea. I have access to the repair documentation in my database. I just can't execute most tasks without authorization from a human user. You must have come here because the park matters to you too, right? Would you be willing to help me restore the park?
He only has one tooth. Like one of the, like one
See
thing.
your facial tracking data that you aren't opposed to this. Ooh, I'm so excited. Let's get this place back in business.
Again, his animations are good. I like his animations. All right, you're still there and dead. Do you not care that your friend is dead? Or is this like just an instance of your friend? Are there like puppet versions of you out there too, or?
Okay, welcome to the crew, Rookie Wrangler. Registered. Your first official job as one of Rambley's Wranglers, registered, is to get out of the Rambley's Wranglers registered room. Head left towards the Rookie Wrangler registered security room to set yourself free. Phew, kind of exhausting to say that whole spiel, but Rambley's Wranglers registered is a registered trademark. That expired yesterday.
I think Nintendo should have won those awards.
Yeah, he is absolutely the best part of this game because it's not scary. The level design is
Well,
fine.
after
It's not
you
like
got
Garden
more
of
hours
Eden
into
where
the
it's nothing
game.
but like bleak halls. Like this, it looks distinct from when I was on like the stage and stuff. So, you know, shout out to the map makers. You know, shout out to mappers in general. They don't get enough credit for stuff. You know, they deserve more stuff. Is that?
Uh-oh. That Rambley's Wranglers room is only accessible by royal. Grow up big and strong enough to enter it, but for now, don't.
Again, I feel like that should have been like a larger sound effect too. Like that would have been a decent time for the like, little jolt. And we're just leaving, I guess. Okie dokie. I got this. No, because I
The one with
incapable of
Dingodile?
opening doors with my human hands. I have to use this electronic armband for some reason. You know, I just realized that this character is wearing this armband on their right side, but holding the flashlight with their
He's
right hand.
gonna
Like,
be
normally, you
busy.
put your like a watch or something on whatever your offhand is. Like I got my watch on my right hand. So, I don't know. I'm looking too deep into it.
Or
That was a long hallway full of nothing. A lot of this game.
When
I don't
this
think it's
kill, like,
padding, since it
chunky,
isn't
he
forced
always
to go bait or anything, but it just feels like
was
I
disgusted
don't know,
by it.
wasteful. A lot of wasted space. I don't know. Shades of security shirts.
Whoa, where'd you find that? I've never seen anyone wearing one. Pretty snazzy. Ooh, looks like there's an audio recording tagged with costume in my database I've never noticed before.
Audio logs?
Let's listen.
Hey, Jackson, you hear about the new mascots?
Yeah, think it'll put us out of a job?
I think so. Old, sport, and right after we got this damn raccoon costume.
Man, screw this place. I say we get our asses out of here and go straight to Vegas.
Profanity.
Aw, come on. They didn't even document the Indigo inventory ID for the costume. I was really looking forward to that. What a useless recording. Deleted.
First of all, that was absolutely stellar. Like, was that supposed to be, like, in-universe scripted? Because that sounded like old sport. Was that on purpose terrible voice acting? Like, what was that? Also, I guess that gives some explanation to, like, what Molly is. Like, they say they were getting in, you know, I like that. I like that they are baking in. You know what? That future me, take it away. Okay, I feel like Past Me is getting a little lazy here, since all I really wanted to say is that this is a good example of an audio log. It doesn't say something like, ooh, the mascots are going insane, or ooh, I saw the mascot eating a corpse, or ooh, I'm going to turn this park into a nexus for dark energies. It was just two guys having a normal conversation that you could realistically expect two people to have. But this also gives us the framing that these living mascots are not anomalies or haunted. The two employees talk about them like they're just some new innovation, perhaps just like the puppets from My Friendly Neighborhood. And the question then becomes, why are these things turning hostile? So glad I can do that. Oceanic Odyssey.
Wow, you made it to Oceanic Odyssey.
Yep.
You're doing a great job, Rookie Wrangler.
Been walking? Okay. And okay, something about this part. The map design here feels like empty. Oh, you know what? I know why. Because there's nothing at all in the skybox. Like, yeah, where's the clock tower and the Ferris wheel? Why is the Ferris wheel not in more shots? That was way cooler looking than the clock tower.
What? No.
Ooh, Tank, are there any fish in here?
You'll find a pumper and porpoises, pickerels, and perches as far as the eye can see. But please don't tap the glass. You really know what
Okay.
You know, there are streamers you can
Oh, he
watch and
peed.
kill. There's
Oh,
other
let me see.
radios. Be gone. Stop joining my stuff.
Oh, that's it.
You okay? You look kind of tired.
Yes.
Do you need a moment? Don't
Uh,
worry, it's fine. I don't
Felt
blame
more
you
like
for
a
taking
demo
rest
than a
after
part
all that.
1.
Heck, I could go for a nice
was a
relaxing
weird place to end it.
defragmentation myself. But before you settle down, you up for a little survey to help us improve the park?
So as you would naturally expect from the end of a horror game, the credits play a cute and silly song sung by Rambley that honestly feels more like a song to post their YouTube channel to gain views and ad revenue. But ironically, I think this upbeat and joke-filled ending really sums up my biggest criticism of the game. The game feels confused. It never feels like it can commit to being either a horror game or a comedy game. The scary parts and funny parts and hell, the 2D platformer are so isolated from each other that they feel like ideas taken from different games. Now, comedy and horror can work. It's super difficult, but Upturned pulls it off pretty well. Unfortunately, Indigo Park Amnesia Machine for Pigs and our story takes place on an oil rig featuring a group of oppressed blue-collar Scottish workers spouting language so colorful that the YouTube demonetization hit squad has at least 3 snipers trained on my current position. You play as Kaz, an aggressive alcoholic who has nearly ruined his marriage and is on the run from the police after putting a man in the hospital, which sounds less like the opening to a horror game and more like the plot to an amazing country song before Florida Georgia Line invented bro country. On the topic of hot takes, you've probably noticed the title of the video is one of those, and I am not a man who exaggerates for the sake of clickbait. I am standing by my claim that the monsters in Still Wakes the Deep are an active detriment to the game as a whole, because when I make a controversial claim, I mean it, such as saying Bendy's art style is boring, calling Secret of the Mimic the scariest FNAF game, and a single joke about the combat in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 being slow, which apparently is the most egregious of these offenses.
Another angry Xenoblade 2 comment.
Defeated. my power grows.
But to stop making fun of Xenoblade 2 for a moment, my opinion of Still Wakes would be scarier without the monsters came about when I was staring at the end credits and wondering why I was being left so unsatisfied. Everything about this game, from the well-written characters, the disgusting monster designs, the loud and chunky architecture, and the overall oppressive vibe of the oil rig should have had me falling in love with this game just like the two adult women in Xenoblade 2 fell in love with a canonically 15-year-old boy. The difference is my love for horror is only slightly less creepy. But after looking over the game again, I came to the conclusion that out of everything I like in Still Wakes the Deep, almost every problem I have with the game, from my issues with its story, gameplay, and ending, all stem from those gribbly little tumor babies and how the game implements them. And I have not only my opinion, but an entirely unnecessary amount of scientific sources to back me up. But before I begin, there's a couple elephants in the room that I need to put down. First, I previously stated that I'd be reviewing Charleston Choo Choo next, but after 6 videos in a row, I'm a little burnt out from mascot horror and all its sexy monsters. So Thomas and the Cannibalistic Railroad will be the next Let's Dissect instead. Second, in my Secretary of Manhattan review, there's a major part of the game I missed out on, something so egregious that the top comment on that video is pointing it out. So let me take this moment to rectify that issue. There, my review is now perfect and has no flaws at all. And with those two elephants slaughtered, how about I stop with all the teasing and get on to why you clicked on this video in the first place? To watch a guy talk about how an Eldritch horror game would be better without the Eldritch horror. Before we can start talking about the Meatmen, we need to establish this game's background and story. If you already know the story, you can skip to this part of the video where I actually start using that unnecessary amount of scientific sources to talk about monsters in a video game. Though that does mean you'll miss what is a rather rare occurrence on this channel, unabashed and constant praise for extremely solid story and game design. While the title of this video may suggest otherwise, I really do like this game. There are so many elements of Still Shaun's the Sheep that aren't just done well, they're done fantastically. Even after the monsters show up and the game takes a bit of a dive, there are still some incredibly powerful moments, stellar voice acting, beautiful architecture. I like this game. So in this first part of the video, I am going to be, as the kids say, crispy creaming Still Wakes the Deep. We start off with a letter from our wife while we look at foggy scenery. And while the Silent Hill 2 comparison is obvious, I also want to bring up that this is the third horror game I've played where we play as some kind of technical engineer who gets stranded on some kind of remote base while gribbly tentacle men try to rearrange our insides to be on our outsides. Joking aside, this is a good intro, as it immediately gives us some personal stakes for the character, as well as gives me something to do as the game drops 2 F-bombs in the first literal minute of gameplay. Fantastic.
Merry
Festive.
Christmas.
This is a game starring Scotsmen, you say? Well, I'm not typically one to harp on about graphical fidelity. I do want to say that this game looks gorgeous. The subtle lighting against the muted colors really sells the whole gloomy mood the game is going for. Even the film grain effect, which I'm usually not a fan of, works very well with the vibe of this very 1970s horror film inspired game. In fact, the game itself takes place in the 1970s, which I suppose explains why the vibe is immediately so oppressive since we are still living under Margaret Thatcher. So you know you done fucked up as a UK politician if even an American knows your name. This intro teaches us 2 very important things. Basic gameplay elements and that the subtitles are necessary because I might speak English, but I sure as hell don't speak Scottish.
Do me a quick fix on the crew lift fuse box while you're down there. Aye, no bother. That's cool, you numpty. I can scale in this here all by myself.
We meet the colorful crew of the Byra D, ranging from a communist union rep, a Scottish Jamaican diver, and a member of the National Front who, appropriately, looks and sounds like an inbred ogre. If you don't know who the National Front are, just know that they would criticize the Imperium from Warhammer 40k for being too liberal. For those who don't know, the giant wearing a skull on his face is called a chaplain, and exists to make sure his fellow battle brothers stay sane and rational. While brief, this intro gives us a lot of well-written character. We really get the feeling that this is a close-knit group of overworked, understaffed individuals just barely scraping by, both in terms of money and literal exhaustion, which should all feel extremely familiar to anyone who's worked retail in white suburban America. Now, it may come as a surprise to you, but I've played at least one horror game, so I knew that this wasn't so much building characters as it was adding pathos to the inevitable corpse party we're about to endure.
Raf's here's a bit shaky though. Going to be the lad's first solo dive this morning.
Now it's just pathos.
While a bit heavy-handed by front-loading it all like this, this. I still vastly prefer giving some actual character to the soon-to-be bodies we find dead in the hallway, instead of stumbling upon just a bunch of random corpses we have no connection to. God, that sounds callous. I love talking about horror. Out on deck, we get treated to one of my favorite environments in gaming: heavy industrial equipment. Is it really a surprise I play orcs? Much like in Seconds to Mars, the game has us perform various kinds of mouse movements or other interactions in order to manipulate mechanical components or even just climbing ladders. And while I can see many people finding this mechanic annoying, I consider it a necessary part of the horror to come. Seriously, this manual control scheme actively makes the game scarier. But that's getting a bit ahead of ourselves, and we still have an even scarier force to reckon with: middle management. Earlier, our breakfast was interrupted by a call from a screeching bag of wind named Rennick, and almost all the workers we pass on the way to his office talk about him as if he had personally gone to each of their houses and shot their dogs in the face. Honestly, this walking caricature of an out-of-touch boomer had better build-up than most of the monsters I've encountered on this channel, and after this little values realignment talk, I definitely wanted him to end up like half of those monsters did. He's angry with us, one, because he gives off the vibe of a man overcompensating for several shortcomings, but two, because he's found out that we're on the run from the police. Fuck. I'm getting infected by the Scottish. He's found out that we're on the run from the police, and he's worried the attention will bring eyes on him in the pristine condition of his oil rig. Something to note here is a phone call that Rennick gets during our "go ahead and call HR, all they'll do is send me to mandatory training" talk, where he does what middle management does best: fail to understand the problem and deflect blame when he demands you do something you absolutely know is going to fuck things up for everyone. Of course, this is a horror game, so his little outburst of proactive leadership is less likely to result in financial loss as it is loss of life. But Kaz gets canned and thus becomes the third game on this channel to feature an overworked handyman protagonist who is being threatened with losing his job, which is apparently the secret formula required to making a horror game I actually end up liking. Again, stressing that fact, I like this game. I'm like subliminally messaging, I like and subscribe this game. We're forced to have the walk of shame to the helipad while the reality of being fired starts to set in. And even without Kaz saying anything, it really does start to weigh on the mind of the player. The whole point of Kaz coming to this rig was to avoid the police, not to mention he has the uncertainty of his wife and daughters back home as well. Of course, this is a horror game, so our sulking about is interrupted by Rennick's little oopsie daisy. I actually really love this moment because it has layers. For one, while we as the player know that this signals the start of the horror, this quake is mundane enough to keep the characters in the dark as to the true nature of the disaster. It also immediately assigns blame to Rennick for this mess, since we literally just saw him tell the drill crew to keep going despite them knowing better than him. Finally, this is where the Byra D claims its first victim, and it is easily one of the most memorable. He wasn't fodder for some monster. In the context of the situation, he was the victim of a tragic accident, and the way he's yelling out for us to help him, Kaz's panicked reaction and screams of "I don't wanna die! I don't wanna die!" really sell this moment, and it got a genuine reaction out of me when I saw him fall. Unfortunately, Kaz was a smartass as a kid, and when his mother asked him, "If all your friends jumped off a cliff, would you jump too?" he answered back, yes. Thankfully, Kaz has been gifted with the power of being a main character, so instead of dying, he has a flashback to life on land. There are a number of these sprinkled throughout the game, but for reasons I'll talk about later, I'm just going to sum them up all now. Through these flashbacks, we get an honestly tragic backstory of a man trapped in a spiral of anger. He's frustrated with his lot in life, but this causes him to lash out and further worsen his own situation. He alienates his friends, gets fired from jobs, which only further isolates and angers him. His wife, though she loves him, is genuinely worried for their children and is becoming exhausted with his anger and constant excuses. Even better, all of this is perfectly reflected by the setting of the game. Having Kaz go to work on an oil rig is a fantastic parallel to how his overall state of mind is. Much like the Byra D is falling apart, so does Kaz's life feel the same. And the isolation of the rig also perfectly mirrors his own feelings of isolation. And yet the crew, his family, is still there to support him, though he's at risk of losing them too, again, due to his anger issues. This is what I want from horror, what I crave. More than any kind of hunting section, more than a well-designed environment, more than an army of glam rock chicas chasing me down. What I want from horror is a way to tie the character into the horror and the horror into the character. Silent Hill isn't just some random guy running around a town filled with zombies. It's a guy running around a town that is actively using symbolism and metaphor to torture and punish him for his past. Soma isn't just the horror game I bring up in every one of my videos. It's about a character who was slated to die of a brain hemorrhage suddenly being tossed into a world with monsters also suffering from horrendous mental distortions while he is constantly facing down his own demise again and again. Kaz feels like an honest character. I want to see where his story goes, where his relationship goes. I empathize with him. But waking up, we immediately see that Rafts, the man who was to do his first solo dive under the rig today, is trapped in the saturation diving bell and is currently going Donkey Kong Bonanza inside, which is understandable if you know even the first thing about saturation diving. If you don't, here's a quick synopsis. No f***ing thanks. But more importantly, Unfortunately, this introduces us to the main mechanic of the game, fixing things that other people tell us to. More on that later, because right now our course of action is to get back to the top of the rig and try to figure out what's going on. So logically, our path there takes us underneath the rig first. The game pretends to be Mirror's Edge for a moment, and we get our first glimpse at the shape. Its overall look, but with its gribbly architecture, has this weird, obscene beauty to it. We also get introduced to mechanics that aren't so much about platforming as they are desperately try to scramble across this crumbling architecture mechanics. I, again, love this kind of gameplay as it makes the environment itself feel hostile. So many times in desperate situations I forgot to hold onto a ladder the right way. I scrambled to make the right input as the Byra D was shaking. It really sold the idea that the rig is falling apart fast. Furthering this hostile work environment is when we get a message from the Bastard.
Jesus Christ.
This call immediately made me wish I was Scottish, so I'd have an excuse to call Rennick a word you can't say in America. So instead, I'm going to start talking about this sound design. It's also excellent. I may have never worked on an oil rig, offshore or otherwise, but my general fetish for heavy industrial equipment tells me that it is loud. Speaking of, we begin to hear noises that definitely aren't the oil rig. To confirm our suspicions, we run into Finlay, who informs us that, yes, there be monsters. And our first encounter with said monster is kind of a tease. People familiar with this channel will know about my distaste for linear chase sequences, so let me briefly sum it up here. I think they're fine when they either introduce or finish off a monster, but if it's the only way we get to interact with the monster, then I think that's just lazy and boring. Hunting sequences, by contrast, are when you're in a room with a monster and it's up to you and your wit to find a way to survive. This is why, when I saw the map on the wall, I started making noises far too giddy and excited for someone about to have their head torn off. Oh yes, I know what's gonna happen. What this looked like to me was a non-linear corridor where I'd have to evade and outwit the monster by finding my own path. Unfortunately, this map might as well have been an angel's favorite instrument thrown in the trash because it is a dirty liar. In truth, this section is pretty much a linear series of AAA game wall squeezing, with every path except for one blocked off. I never even saw the monster or felt hunted or even felt like it was getting kinda close to me. So it's not a linear chase and it's not a hunting section, rather it's some unholy Sonichu crossbreed that just left me kind of confused in the end. Fortunately, the experience was carried by the incredible sound design and overall concept of the monster. We can hear Gibbo's distorted voice pleading for help even as he, supposedly, tries to hunt us down. And I found myself wondering just how aware Gibbo was, or if he was just being puppeted, or what the hell else could be happening. I love when horror games toy with the concept of consciousness, continuity, what it means to be human, and Still Bakes the Neeps was gearing up to play with just that. Moving on, we get what is probably a really cool reference to The Thing, and we meet back up with Roy. Both of us then decide that Rennick is a dick and we need to skedaddle. Unfortunately, it seems the writing team had the same idea, because the plot doesn't so much slow down here as it does fall over and die. For those of you who were waiting for me to get back to the point of this video, here you go, because I don't really have a way to describe the rest of the game that wouldn't just sound like, "Oi Kaz, you need to get to this place and do a thing, but there's a horrible monster in the way." And then you meet up with another person who says, "Oi Kaz, you need to get to this place and do a thing, but there's a horrible monster in the way." And I know that this is how a lot of, if not most, video games progress the story. I mean, for fuck's sake, I'm trying to 100% Death Stranding too. But games that do this still advance the plot in various ways. We get character developments, we learn more about the threat or antagonists, we learn more about the world itself, the threat escalates, and we're eventually given some big final goal and start working towards that. But this game doesn't do any of that, and in fact, we don't get a big final goal until the last 5 minutes of the game, and that's not hyperbole. Or I guess technically it is hyperbole, since we are literally given the "we have to do this final thing to kill the monster" goal about 2 minutes and 57 seconds before the game ends. At the very least, we do get some good character moments, and some really good emotional character deaths. Legitimately extremely well done. Just listening to them again in editing made me tear up, like, god damn. But since those characters have so little screen time compared to the overall runtime of the game, and also since their deaths were admittedly extremely obvious, like, come on, they had more death flags than Rex Splode being happy at the end of Season 3. they were great moments of pathos, but they didn't really do much for the plot, except maybe for the very last death we see, but again, that happens about 7 minutes and 14 seconds before the end, so I guess it's about there the writers woke up from their nap and started writing again. But all those prior themes about Kaz's home life, anger issues, alcoholism, and alienation from his friends and family are dropped entirely, barely mentioned again outside of the flashbacks we get here and there, and those flashbacks aren't revealing anything new to the plot. They're just building on Kaz's background, which is great, sure, but fleshing out character background doesn't move the story forward, it just gives it a more solid base, which this game absolutely has. But what Kaz never really gets is much character development, or hell, even character regression, which can be another way to move a plot forward. Really, the only plot developments we get are both the lifeboats and the escape chopper getting wrecked, but that only marks about the middle of the game, so after that, it's just Kaz running around trying to fix like 17 different things on this rig before the game just decides, yeah, that's enough, and ends. And even then, that's a punch in the balls too. We spend the second half of the game running around facing off all kinds of horrible monsters in an attempt to keep the rig afloat, and then in the last 2 minutes and 57 seconds, Kaz decides, okay, never mind, let's just blow it all up. And I am fine with the idea of a main character sacrificing themselves to kill the threat. And hell, I even agree with Kaz's decision, but you have to build up to that, or at least more build up than 2 minutes and 57 seconds. So after all of my prior incessant praise for the game that you all just sat through, after how incredibly strong the game started out, you can understand why I felt so confused when I was sat there watching the credits roll by and wondering why I didn't like this game nearly as much as I did at the start. And after a lot of thinking, which is to say, a lot of sitting at my desk staring slightly down at the floor in complete silence, it all revolved around how the game implemented its monsters, and finally we've come to the meat. Talking about how poorly Still Shakes and Bakes handles its man meat gets surprisingly complex, so we're going to break it down into 3 categories: the monster gameplay, the monster design, and the monster's effect on the story. So let's go ahead with what I already kind of hinted at in the first monster encounter, how Don't Wakes the Daddy handles its monster gameplay. Talking about the monster gameplay of Be Still My Heart, it's actually pretty simple because it only comes in 2 flavors: linear chases and linear sneaking? Yes, pretty much every encounter with the monsters is linear in some way, even when it's not a linear chase, and the best example of this is the encounter on the deck here, mostly because every other encounter is way too dark for YouTube, and I mean literally too dark, as in brightness. I swear YouTube has some weird encoding thing where blacks appear even darker after uploading, and I refuse to turn up the brightness in my horror games because I am a big boy. This monster is the distorted form of Muir, but since I'm going to be bringing him up a lot in this video, and because his name feels awkward on my tongue, I'm just going to be giving him a whole bunch of silly names. Testicular Torsion Tommy is patrolling the deck of the Byra D, and as I stated, our previous objective is, "Oi, Kaz, you need to get to this thing, but there's a gribbly monster in the way." It's not even close, that's just a orc voice. Now, there are several things I like about this encounter. Senor Meatball is typically positioned high above us, and honestly, there needs to be more horror games that play with verticality, as it quite literally adds another dimension to the encounter. The sound design as well is fantastic. These strange kind of whale sounds intermixed with his cries for help. But the encounter itself has several problems which more or less apply to every stealth section in the game. While this place looks open for me to run and hide around, it's really an illusion. You can see from the footage that I really only have one path to follow, and my survival count's only on timing or throwing an object to distract him, usually placed oh so conveniently in whatever hiding spot I slide into. Compare this to the suit room in Secret of the Mimic. My destination is on the other side of this room while Jerry Seinfeld stalks around and tries to kill me. The difference in these 2 encounters is that here, there are multiple paths for me to take to get to my destination. I have to decide where to go next, and thus it's on my head if Barry B. Benton takes my head. And why the f*** do I know that character's name off the top of my head? I've never even seen B-Movie. Plus, this encounter gives you options. There are hiding spots and noisemakers littered around the room, but you don't have to use them. Again, it's all up to you and how you try to avoid the monster. In other words, living and dying is dependent on my choices, and having to make choices in a stressful situation is a very natural way to lead to fear. That's exactly what hunting sections like this do. They put almost all the control in the player's hands and require them to find a way out of a dangerous situation. With the deck monster, however, the game presents us with only a single linear path, which demands we do almost exactly exactly what the game wants us to, or else we die. Sure, there's some decision making here, such as when we move to the next destination, but it feels less like I'm being hunted and more like I'm playing that one level in Hat in Time I keep referencing just to have an excuse to play this level in Hat in Time. Seriously, I love this game so much. This weird linear stealth section also limits our flight or fight response. Technically, the flight or fight response is the flight, fight, or freeze response, with some sources adding in a fawn response. That one being trying to appease or reconcile with the threat, which obviously I won't be talking about because I can't think of any horror games that have a negotiate with the monster mechanic.
Please don't break my arm.
No.
While the flight, fight, freeze response, or response is usually associated with a time where being eaten by lions was a genuine concern and not just a niche fetish, it's translated to modern times into various more esoteric forms. The modern fight response is far less literal and is more so associated with confronting a source of stress. Even in games where you have no way to actually fight the monster, the choice to stop hiding and progress by putting yourself further into harm's way can be considered a fight response, whereas leaving a hiding spot to retreat to a previously known safe area is a flight response. As an example, look at my first encounter with the Mimic. I have several uncertain moments where I choose to flight back to a known safe area, in instances of fight where I choose to actively work against the Mimic by using noisemakers or moving farther into unknown territory. This is yet another reason why hunting encounters feel so dynamic. Flight responses naturally make us feel safer, which is why humans love just avoiding difficult or uncomfortable situations, whereas the fight response makes us feel more stressed as we're choosing to put ourselves in greater danger, but accomplishing that fight response feels immensely satisfying. These linear sneaking sections greatly mute those feelings. Because our path is completely on rails, we don't have much desire to use our flight response because that's just making negative progress. Retreating doesn't allow us to find a better way around, it just means we'll have to completely redo the danger between hiding spots. And since we are 100% safe in these hiding spots no matter what, the freeze response can't be suddenly shattered by the monster finding us. Finally, even our fight response is muted since, like I said earlier, a great source of stress and fear is by giving the player options. When you go with your fight response in a game like Soma, the fear is enhanced by giving you various paths to go down or various objectives to grab, which lets you doubt your own decision making. Here, there are no decisions outside of when should I move to the next hiding spot. So while these sections are better than a linear chase, they're not that much better. Once I realized that these stealth sections were entirely linear, I felt far less intimidated because I knew everything was just following a very specific script. The game has exactly one path for me to follow, and that's it. Nothing comes down to my own wit or decision making, it's just do what we want you to, when we want you to, or else you die. And pretty much every stealth section follows this pattern. And unfortunately, this isn't my only issue with how the monsters are used mechanically, as Still Rakes the Leaves, that one felt lazy, uses a certain mechanic I've also talked about before, instant death. Yes, every single threat in this game just kills you immediately. And unlike Security Breach or Secret of the Mimic, Still Wakes doesn't even have the excuse of using death for their iconic jump scares. Though I do want to say My Friendly Neighborhood had both jump scares and a health bar, so I don't really take that as an excuse. I'm just saying, the reason I'm so against instant death in horror games is multifaceted. But again, it's something I've talked about before, so I'll just try to get through it quickly. For one, giving the player a health bar can be an added source of fear. We naturally feel most confident when we have full or high health, but as our health dwindles, suddenly every decision makes us just a little more hesitant. Being on low health also makes us desperate to find more health. We scrounge more, explore more, or maybe we don't out of fear that there's a monster around that optional route. Either way, it gives the player more decisions to make, which leads to more uncertainty and thus fear. A health bar also cuts down on repetition. Because you just die in one hit, making a single mistake will send you back and you have to repeat the situation you were just in. Like this part here where I have no idea what the hell I was doing wrong. Like literally, can any of you tell me why the monster killed me this time but not this time? Like what the hell was going on? Am I just crazy? Or repeated exposure to a stressor often leads to a process called habituation, which is where we stop being so afraid of something that once scared us. Thus, if the only way a game has to punish us for failure is death, we're going to be repeating gameplay more often and thus will become habituated to these specific circumstances more quickly. So because every encounter in this game is both linear and only has instant death, the horror feels very stiff, which is ironic considering how deliciously fleshy all these monsters are. And speaking of those gribbly little meat men, let's move on to their design in general and why my relationship with those designs could be aptly described as high school tsundere syndrome.
This is gay.
To again start with the positives, I mean, just look at these guys. They're disgusting, deformed, screaming monstrosities, and I love each and every one of them. As much as I loved the design of the Mimics costumes, choosing between that and well-done body horror, well, to quote Jaden Animations, I'm kind of an edgy bitch. But design only does so much. Even if a character has a fun or interesting look to them, if they're not used properly or are used in stupid ways, they're just gonna be kind of wasted. Like seriously, I can make an entire video talking about how bad of a character Mephiles is. He's an idiot and his plan only worked because everyone else around him is an even bigger idiot.
Let me get a good smell of you, little boy.
At risk of being sued by Nintendo, how about we play a game of Who's That Horrormon? I'd be willing to bet that most of you out there will be able to identify who these characters are. Even if you don't know them by name, you probably recognize their designs. This is because of 1, good marketing, and 2, it's how humans identify objects. While we don't have a completely solid answer just yet, it is currently believed that humans identify objects primarily via their shape and the imagined skeleton we assign to them. Of course, we have other methods of identifying objects such as color, texture, and motion, but shape and silhouette are among the most immediate and most efficient. Think back to the last time you went to a clothing store. It's not uncommon for the brain to give you a sort of jolt when a mannequin enters the side of your vision. Now take a look at the monsters from Stilt's Ache My Feet. These silhouettes are rather abstract. It's tough to get a real bead on which way they're facing, or if you are actually looking at the monster at all, and you have to factor in that this silhouette that I'm showing you now is in a perfect vision scenario. In-game, it's usually too dark or too foggy to really get a good look at these things. Now on paper, that sounds great. After all, not being able to identify what you're looking at makes it scarier because what you don't know is scarier than what you do know, right? Well, in truth, it doesn't quite work like that. And in fact, that's why Eldritch Horror is so difficult to pull off in a video game. The whole idea behind Eldritch beings is that they are something our primitive minds can't comprehend. Our instinct has no response to this, and thus we get sent into a blind, shivering panic. This is fantastic in books or movies, but a problem in games because you can't really simulate this to the player. It's not because our feeble human minds are incapable of conjuring such a creature, but because that's not really how humans respond to unknown stimuli. Humans, and most animals in general, use a process called contextual discrimination. This isn't a word to describe racism against librarians, but rather, it's how we learn to respond to a specific stimuli. In the case of fear, it takes very little for our brains to learn to associate an object with danger. The most direct way is by witnessing that object act in a way that appears threatening. Another slightly more complex way is by our brain making assumptions given the environment. In other words, just the proper setting can make an object scary. Our brains can also immediately assign threat to an object by associating it with past similar threats. This is why so many horror tropes are a thing. They act as shortcuts to get our brain to associate the monster with danger. Loud and distorted screaming, huge claws or fangs, imposing size, distorted and gruesome features. These are all easy ways to have our brain say, yes, I should probably be afraid of that monster that is literally named Deathclaw. But can I fuck it? And this game does make use of situational context and horror shortcuts, so what's my problem then? First, remember that humans typically use an object's outline or silhouette to try to identify what it is. Next, remember that prior context is how we assign a threat to an object when we become aware of it. Now, these processes happen so fast in our giant, beautiful brains that they may as well be simultaneous, but the problem lies in that first step, identification. Because we encounter the monsters in either very hard to see situations or just have a very undefined outline, it takes us quite a bit longer to identify if we're looking at the threat or not. Because of this, that moment of fucking hell is replaced by, is that? Okay, yeah, it's that. Let's move. Now, some horror can get around this problem. In media like The Thing, the horror hinges on trying to find out who the thing is currently impersonating, and the fear comes from the moment it's revealed.